That's my question. Why is structure so important for all of us in this dome of limitations that we actually think are real?
Yeah, great question. So structure is a word that came from Fritz and the way that he uses it, rather. And a structure is any 2 points that are working together, any 2 points of information. So your body is a structure, a skateboard is a structure, this rubber band and my hands are a structure. Okay. Now, just like my bicep and my arm are working together, if I increase the tension here, the bicep moves. So structures are held together through tension. When the tension is in equilibrium, the structure stays together. So my body has all these different, the way that it stands up, it has a skeleton and all sorts of muscles. They're all in different tension structures, and I can be upright. Same with a building, it has a structure that allows it to stay upright. Everything has a structure. Structure creates movement when it's out of equilibrium. If there's a disequilibrium of tension, like this, we all know what's going to happen. They want to go to the middle. And now it's in equilibrium again. So that's what structure is. Now, the interesting thing is your life needs to be structured in the right way. So if you structure your life in an idea that there is a problem that I must solve, and then there is a goal that I also want. What you'll be is you'll be like this rubber band here in the middle. So there's this thing over here that I believe about myself. Let's call it I'm not good enough. And I believe that. And at the same time, I want to create wealth. Now, as soon as I want to create wealth, I move a little bit towards it. But as soon as I move a little bit towards it, the tension pulls me back to this one. And the reason why that happens, so we end up doing this. And we just become this knot in the middle that's doing that. And the reason why this happens is because if you have a belief that you're not good enough, that's who you become. If you're then trying to create something that is in opposition to that, that structure is set. And you say, when I have the money, then I will finally be enough. However, I'm a not enough person. And identities don't want to die. So as soon as you start moving towards it, at some point your identity says, hey, wait a second, we're not enough person, and kicks up a whole heap of stuff into your subconscious and pulls you back. And so what we must do is we must let go of that idea that there's such a thing as good enough. And at the moment that there's no good enough or not good enough, and that you're just powerfully creating what you love. And once you give it up, we give up that old structure of I'm going to create this in opposition to that. When you give it up and you realize that there's nothing more abundant or good enough than this moment of existence, and you let that go, and you realize that the most abundant thing you can ever have is a human moment, an experience with someone you care about, a just a sunset, a morning, a rainy day. There's nothing better than that. There's no such thing as good enough. You can have $1,000,000 in your bank and be absolutely broken on the inside. You really can. Or you can be completely poor and be rich. It's not about these extra things. So you allow yourself to just let go of that whole idea, and that's it. Once you've let go of it, then you ask a different question. You say, now that I am it, what would I love? What would I love to create, knowing that it won't change a dang thing about how I feel? Just because I would love to see it manifest, Just what would I love? What would I love? And I love that question. Hardest question. See, we're so oriented. Many people, when I say this to them, they say, but Chris, if I already had it now, why would I be motivated to go for that goal? And I'm like, exactly. It's not the right goal.
I mean, here's the thing. Most of these 6 orientations that we all develop as human beings are just part of our psyche, and we don't even really know they're there.
the first step on the journey is realizing you can have it all now, that you become good enough now, you become worthy now, that like, because there's no such thing. And so that's the first step. It collapses that old tension. And that's called the magnetic moment. And I should describe it by opening the wizard's gate. Because as soon as you open the wizard's gate to the present moment, you're bigger than any external circumstances. And some of our greatest teachers that, like Nelson Mandela, who was able to rise above and sit for 27 years and gain more power than his captives, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, realizing that he had more power, because you can never take the person's decision to choose how they feel. When you allow yourself to access that magnetic moment, you become the most powerful creator, the most equally powerful creator to everyone else who's able to access that moment. And you're there, like I did, when you simply will feel exactly the same no matter what happens next. Okay. Whether it's success or failure. And so Recode helps on getting you there, because you have a lot caught up in your old patterns. However, if all we did is say, I want to feel good enough, we would actually give our consciousness no end creation, because there'd be no tension, there'd be no movement. And so if we did that, it would go, great. Okay, we collapse that we're not good enough. And what will pop up is the same personal development challenge that keeps happening. Is that, well, now I've got to fix the next thing about me. So we don't do that. Instead, what we do is we just ask, let's assume that you already feel good enough now. What would you just love to create for no reason? And so this creates the set point of what they'd love to create for no reason. So then we do the work on being in alignment with that. Therefore, we get pulled through the wizard's gate into the creation, but already feeling good enough by doing the work. And so by adding the structure to what Colette shared with me, we have a place for the consciousness to land. That's not just, I need to keep fixing myself. So step 1 in the 5 steps is, what would you love? Step 2 is, how would that feel? You get entangled with it. You become it. Once you've become it, step 3 is, where am I now in comparison to that? So then we've gone, I'm this, and where am I now? What we typically do is go, what's wrong with me and how do I fix it? So it's a different orientation. Then we say, what stops you being that now? Up pops into the we use your word, psyche. I think it's a Greek word. So it pops up into what I would call your active experience, what you're actively engaged with. And then we've taught the brain how to let that go. And they let that go. And everyone listening, Dermot is completely certified and a complete genius in this work. And so you should really reach out to him for a session, Like I would, I think at this point, Dermot, you're in the first 400 people to get across that line. And it's a pretty cool thing to be on the forefront of this work. And so I'm bloody proud to say, everyone listening, you should really have a coaching session with Dermot. Anyway, that's step 4. We let it go. And by the way, he's humbling asking questions that he does know the answer to, which I also think is awesome. And then the last step is
for our
action.
Audience.
I know it is, but I want them to know that you know these answers too, and that you told me at the beginning. So I'm going to ask you questions so that we have an engaging conversation. But I want to make sure everyone knows that you're the real deal, brother. And I've had you in many different coaching courses and things. I know that everyone that chooses to work with you in whatever way will have a great experience. But anyway, the last step is action. You must act, you must move through. And that is the 5th step. And that's what we teach in the book. Hey.
So a couple key points, but now, I mean, you're so close to this work and have worked with so many people. sometimes when someone has the first epiphany long time ago, it's like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. The thing, the fifth step of taking action, sometimes in my brain it feels like, oh, that's a work schedule. But what happens,
Uh,
it's almost like the step appears and it becomes doable that wasn't doable before. I wasn't even aware of it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it just becomes natural. So it's almost like the next step's given to you.
Yes, it's
And
the
that I
obvious.
thought is magic.
It is magic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think my last question is just a definition, or I don't know if
Mm.
that's the right word, but what is the magnetic mind method, and how does it differ from what you described, the magnetic moment?
Oh, well, the magnetic mind, as an overall method, is helping people to step into creating a mind that's creative. So having a mind that is creative, well, that their mind is already creative. It's becoming a conscious controller of that creativity so that you are a magnet for that which you want rather than maybe an unconscious creator, a magnet for that which you don't want. Uh, so that's what the method is. The moment, the magnetic moment is when you become it, when you become bigger than any external circumstance that you are at. It's when you arrive at the superconscious, and it's when I just close my eyes and feeling it just then, and it's the best feeling in the world. There's nothing better than getting to that moment when you're back connected with the all. And when you realize that you have that moment and nothing can ever take that away, like you just know, wow, I can just go for whatever I want, and I've always got this because this is that moment. It's a magnetic moment because as you arrive at this moment, you can then choose how you want this to move. Mm.
So thank you so much. I appreciate your time and willing to share these puzzle pieces and putting them together like you did today.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so grateful for you. Such good energy in all the courses, and everyone out there listening. I really do recommend get behind Dermot and his work. It's yeah, definitely over the time that I've been in collaboration, co-creation. You live it, you breathe it, you 3x your income and all sorts of other things, and that just proves that you know how to do it. you know how this work is created, and I think we use goals. This is quite a funny perspective to finish us up. We use goals as play to learn how to become a creator. It's not actually getting the goal. It's just a play thing for us to learn, like how can we, because we're consciousness, and so it's created in the essence or in the image of, and we're just here to play creation. What amazing stuff could we create in our time here? You know, it seems right to me. Anyway, thanks, brother. I really appreciate you back as well.